Good morning, everyone. And I don't know, Nina, it's nighttime at your end. Yes.
Yes, 10 p.m. here in Hawaii.
Great. So, good morning, and I would say good evening, good night to you. Welcome, and thank you for joining the Education SIG meeting. I see quite some new faces. The Education SIG meeting, I think, started maybe 10 years ago, something like that, with just a bunch of teachers here at the Blender conference. And we said, okay, we need to do something about education. And so we started approximately 10 or I think some more 11 years ago. And we started to having these reoccurring meetings. And it was just 1 hour in the Bali, and we never had enough time. So we always went upstairs, like, oh, we need another room to discuss. And finally, Tom came and said, after COVID, well, you're getting 3 hours. We're like, oh, that's nice to have 3 hours. So, okay, there's some sound coming. So we have 3 hours of meeting, and we said, "Don't worry, we can fill it up," and we did. So I'm really glad that we still have the Education SIG meeting, and there's still teachers coming to the Blender conference. Today we have a really nice lineup of people who will tell a very inspiring story of how they teach Blender at their schools or at their university. Then we're going to have a short break, and then we will continue with two projects that some of us have been working on the past year. And we can show the Blender Batches project, right, Edward? We can show the status. And that's amazing because that is something that's going to be live on blender.org. So blender.org is going to have an education section, and we have the material. We had hoped to bring it live before the conference, but we had some tweak. We got a review from Pablo. Oh, can you change this? Can you change that? And I heard that Tom didn't like the background image, so we changed that too. But then it was 2.5 weeks before conference, and they were too busy to bring it live. So we need to check with Pablo and Julian. It will probably happen after the conference. But the Blender Batches project is going to go live. And that means that education is going to be on blender.org. So there's going to be a shout out to the community. Please review, please submit changes, please discuss. Let's create this education section. So shout out to everyone, also online. Um, get in touch with us, help us out. We need a lot of hands to create tutorials. We need people to talk with us, give us feedback. So please participate in the education in the Blender Badges project. We're also going to talk about a qualification framework. That was the next question. Like, wow, okay, now we have kind of a universal curriculum as teachers. How do you determine when a student is qualified enough to earn a badge? And I think Katina will be giving a presentation or joining or leading that session together with me. First of all, we're going to start with some inspiring presentation, and I'd like to introduce Nina. Well, I'm not going to introduce Nina. Here's Nina, and Nina has something very cool to show us. Nina, the floor is yours. Nina, I think Dave as well, right?
Yes,
Nina
Dave is
and
here.
Dave. Yes,
Thank
cool.
you so much, Monique. Thank you so much for inviting us to be here with all of you today. And we really look forward to hearing more about the Blender Badges project and collaborating somehow on that. It's very exciting news. I'm also just really excited to share our PC game that's currently in development. I'll go ahead and share my screen here and just let me know if you can see it. Awesome. Okay. And then, so we're building this game to make learning Blender fundamentals both fun and effective for Blender beginners of all ages. Blender Start Here is the original title of our game, but we are currently in the middle of rebranding. So stay tuned for that. We're going to be putting out a new game title and logo to of course, go in line with the Blender's trademark guidelines. But for now, we'll just refer to Blender Start Here, the original title. Let's see, let me navigate here. Under construction. So our game studio is called Zero, which was started by myself and my co-founder Dave Mills here a few years ago. At Zero, we believe that playing is learning, and we are all about accessible education and supporting our fellow creatives, just like all of you here today. So for us, leveraging creative technology and gaming is, a wonderful means of making the process of learning real-world skills and powerful tools, just like Blender, much more accessible and more enjoyable for people. Dave is our game lead. There's us. He is our game lead for Blender Start Here, and he'll be sharing more about the game in just a moment. I'll go ahead and play this short game trailer and followed by the short video of the demo gameplay in just a bit while Dave presents. So I'll go ahead and play this. Hopefully the sound works. There you go. Go ahead, Dave.
All right. So, yeah, for us, one of the largest drop-offs when it comes to Blender, and our gauge has been the Blender Guru's donut videos. Their first video, it starts off with 8 million people, and by the second video, it drops down to 4 million. So it's one in every two people give up, and it's a lot of the basic fundamental elements of just navigating through Blender that cause a lot of people to stop. And so we've broken it down into some major categories, and we decided to focus on those. So that being camera navigation, object manipulation, adding, removing objects, object edit mode, camera rendering, and then just the fundamentals of what makes up a model: vertices, edges, and faces. So also, and if you want to, yeah, go start playing. We found that a lot of we have this belief that a lot of learning is has a huge benefit by having an emotional connection to the subject matter, and games are really good at creating emotional connections, and so that is one of the inspirations for this. If you're familiar with Big Buck Bunny, this is the intro scene. We pulled the shots from that. But the story is that there is this world where our main character has been knocked out, and their friends, who are normally playing, suddenly get kidnapped. And so a new world emerges, which has been robbed of creativity and and color. So when our main character wakes up, they now have to figure out what went wrong and how to fix it. So for the demo, they are led initially, just making them familiar with clicking. And so they're just very basic, fundamental things that we want to get the user to become used to. And in any good story, there needs to be an Obi-Wan who's going to guide you. And so we constantly are trying to do little nods. And so Suzanne is our Obi-Wan. She is constantly giving us advice and tips and guiding us through Blender. But we do have to earn her respect first. And so this is the introduction to just orbiting with the camera. But we eventually convince her, and she says that she will help us. We do hear about a foe called Doob. Oh, so another really exciting thing is we have collector cards that we are have collaborated with a bunch of content creators, educators, and communities, and we're featuring them as creator cards that are found throughout the game. And this way, we do not expect or we are not trying to replace the educators. We are just really trying to prepare the learners so that they are better learners when they actually go to tutorials or to classrooms. And so we're really just trying to prepare them, and by introducing them to a bunch of different content creators, after they're done with the game, they know who to look to next to continue their Blender adventure. Another key element is sort of a playfulness. So we want to create, again, an emotional connection so that when a person finally has to open up Blender, it's not this daunting experience. It's a thing that they continue to associate with playfulness and sort of joy and curiosity. Up here is the first level, and this is again reiterating the concept of orbiting camera as well as zooming in. So here we find one of the first characters that have been kidnapped by Doob, and we are introduced to Doob for the first time. The default cube makes a perfect antagonist for our story. It constantly is coming back, and every time you learn something new, by the end of it, you will have to use your new skills to defeat Doob and eventually delete them. And it's this thing that constantly comes back. And if we can really get people to open up Blender and smile as they delete that first default cube, then we're doing our job. It's meaning that people are having fun actually opening up Blender. Another key element is not overwhelming people. So we've stripped away a lot of the UI, which ends up being kind of overwhelming for a lot of new users. And then we are introducing them one at a time so that they look or feel more like badges or rewards. And so then when they actually do open up Blender for the first time, they're seeing these things and they're not saying what's going on. They see like, I remember when I earned this and then I used it to beat Doob. And again, when you introduce things one at a time, you're able to explore them a little bit more and give them a bit more attention. So here we were using a combination of the navigation gizmo, and now we're using zoom and orbit, and we're combining all of those slowly to get the player more familiar with the UI and UX. And finally, when we do defeat Doob, they go away, and currently we now have it so that you can actually delete them. You exit out, and you save your friend, and you're ready for the next adventure. Um, Let's see. Well, we mentioned the content creator. Cecina has been a huge backer for us. It's been really fun getting to interact with all of the different educators, communities, and creators. It's been a really satisfying way of like getting to know them and then being able to feature them as best we can. So we do have a QR code for the Steam demo if you're interested in playing it. It is its demo version right now, but if you are interested in trying it out, we are still in development of it. We are hopefully going to get a release early next year, uh, and then after a moment, if you want to go. So thank you so much for giving us the time, and we hope you see the potential, and we can get more people using Blender.
Cool. Well, Dave and Nina, thank you very, very much for sharing this beautiful education game with us. It's truly amazing. I had seen it before because I was in contact with Nina, but looking at the audience, I think everybody is truly amazed. Do you have some time for questions, maybe from the audience? Yes?
Sure.
Are there any questions? Yes. There's a question here. What's the target age?
I would
Oh,
say around middle school, high school at the youngest age. So around, I would say around 10, 12 years old at the earliest age. But of course, we're also trying to attract, professionals, people that are switching careers perhaps into the digital arts space.
yeah. Cool. More questions? Yes.
I'm curious, like, what the final learning outcome of after you play the whole game would be. Like, what do we expect students to be able to create afterwards?
Did you get that? There's a question what the final learning
Yeah.
outcome would be if a student would go through the game and basically the learning part.
So that we are just trying to get them to feel comfortable navigating and moving throughout Blender. But when it comes to actually creating content, that's still what I believe that the content creators and educators are the best at helping the student actually create. So it's I think of it a lot like a workshop, like a wood shop, that we are just essentially bringing people in and showing them where all the tools are inside of the workshop, but then you actually have an instructor who's showing you how to build a birdhouse.
Great. More questions? Yes.
The technical one, which engine or did you use?
The question is which engine did you use?
Yes, so this is being built in Unity.
Yes.
And being a German myself, and it's the target audience is this early. I'm interested in translations.
There's a question here. Are you interested in translations?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. It's just it comes down to a matter of the finances. So we are currently just working to get it up and running, and hopefully as we release it and we are able to support it more, then to distribute it out. But we are actively building it so that it can have localization.
Okay. Yes.
Because it's at finance, what would there be a price, and how much would it be if there is one?
You mean for supporting
No,
this?
for the game.
Oh,
Because
for the
Steam,
game. Yeah. Is there a
they pay,
price for the game? So what's your pricing model?
Right now, we're the aim is to release this game on Steam. So it'll be around 20, I would say 20 US, around that range. We haven't landed on a specific price point as of yet, but the aim is to eventually be able to somehow make it much more affordable, even ideally free along the, down the line, so that it's more accessible to more learners.
Yeah, we would like to ultimately switch to a free model and then be able to release DLC and then continue to support it with the DLC. But accessible learning is one of our core values, and so we really do want as many people to have access to it.
Cool. I have a question. If it's on Steam, is it allowed for schools to use it? I'm not sure how Steam STEAM is open to be used at schools in Hawaii or in the US or even in Europe. I know in the Netherlands it can be sometimes tricky to have STEAM access on schools. So I was wondering, is this something you have thought about?
Well, we absolutely want it to be available to educators, schools. In terms of how, that's something that we still have to dig into and make sure that we're doing right.
But
But Dave, if you had any additional
right,
information.
ultimately, we would like to be in communication with the schools that are particularly interested and find avenues that do not require STEAM necessarily.
Cool. Any more questions?
Is there a date when they plan to release?
Oh, I have a question. Is there a day when you plan to release it?
So our initial aim is for early 2025. Uh, that is the goal and how we've set it up so that as we're planning out the game, that's what we're shooting for. But as things happen, sometimes it does get pushed back a little bit. But it generally early 2025.
Yeah. Oh, that would be really amazing. I was thinking along because we have the Blender Batches project. Would somehow be nice to incorporate the Blender Batches there. And I see CG Cookie sitting here. They have
CG
these nice
Cookie.
Amber.
We've been helping promote Blender Start here, actually, so.
Yes.
I think you're still going.
Cool. And so yes, no, it's really great. Are there any questions from the audience? I would really. Oh, there's one.
Also, no, thank you.
Oh, thank you. Just amazing. We would like to see progress. So please keep us posted. And if not, please show what you have next year because this is something really interesting. And I really love the smiling cube. Didn't you? I really love the smiling cube. It was amazing.
Thank you.
Um, Thank you very much. Do you have questions for the audience? Do you want to get some feedback somehow?
Well, I mean, first of all, I'm glad that Amber is in the audience. Very grateful for you, Amber, for all of your support from CG Cookie, giving us a big boost. We had a Kickstarter, so we were grateful that we were able to succeed in funding for the Kickstarter. But yeah, Dave, if you have any questions for anybody.
Yeah, so we are interested in knowing what are the core, like if we are not uh, making a point of doing any core like teaching any core fundamentals that you think we should be, then what would those be?
Okay. I think you should watch the Blender Batches talk because there we talk about the core fundamentals,
Mhm.
and it would be nice to align that with your game. Just a small heads up. We have badges. So I think Nina, we already talked a bit about this. That these badges are open, they're free, and Ton approved them, so he likes them. And so this is going to become available, and you can use these badges also in your game. So that would be wonderful. Cool.
Awesome. Perfect.
Thank you very much. I would like to have a huge applause for Dave and Nina. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. We're going to switch to Katina.
Okay, so hello everyone, sorry for the interruption. And today and my college team are going to present what we have done in Blender Education and how we try to build a community in China. So first of all, I would like to bring up the topic that we have done this year. So first of all, in this year we have organized a showcase event that's called 3D animation showcase event that's related to the aerospace stream that we want to encourage the Chinese and Hong Kong students to try to use Blender and create some awesome art pieces of using Blender. So, and here is some of our features that we offer a 20-hour of free online Blender courses that we will show the demo later. And also we want to enhance and uh, provide more exchange opportunity for students to know the Blender and know how to use more creative technology tools. And furthermore, we want to enhance their social responsibility and cooperation. So, for to promote our events, we have done these two events. So first of all, we have held some online seminar that we invite some Hong Kong teachers, over 15 primary and secondary school teacher, and we use the online and tell them how to what Blender is and show what we can do with Blender. So first of all, we talk about why Blender is a powerful creative tool to all the teachers, and then we talk about why it's important to use open software in Hong Kong, as is you can see the importance when using the open source tools. And also we introduced the concept of art tag that we think is important, is essential to Hong Kong students to learn in the future because it's a must skills. I would say it's a must skill for them to survive in the future. So as well as we showed the case study that the young kids that joined the branded conference last year, that we want to give them an impressive talk about, a young kids can use branded to create some appealing or some artwork, and also as well as explore his career path. So, and go to another stage, we have held some charity lesson that we held in Shenzhen, that we have 2 sessions, and each session is 3 hours with 20 students more each. So, and you can see it's our classroom setting, and that's me. So we have a long table, and all the students just brought their laptop and sat together, and I taught them how to use Blender, like the basic operation, move, rotate, scales. So I also, after telling the basic operation, I taught them how to use the rocket, how to assemble the components of the rocket together to let them to get more familiar with the operations, as well as that I taught them some shading concept, like how we can create a moon texture in Blender. So, and it's some awesome piece. That is a case that within a 3 hour lessons, he can create a moon with a light texture, as well as he can learn how to attach another file to the main file and create that little space car. Yeah. So to support our whole showcase event, we have developed an educational platform to support our study. And here is the demo. So first of all, when we go into the page, we have different language for students to choose, that we support multilingual learning, English, traditional Chinese, as well as the simplified Chinese. And then we go to the next page, we have total 6 modules that are related to the basic modeling, texture, lighting, advanced topic, and so on. So when we select the videos and we go to the video page, that we want to provide a video-based learning that can let students to learn Blender at any time, anywhere. Yeah, and this the one should be the Chinese one, and we have provide some the English one. You can see we also provide subtitles so that students can learn more easier. Yeah, so that what we have done for our showcase event. Yeah. So, and I last pass the time to Tim, and we will talk about how to build up a community in China.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. So yeah, a bit of reflection on the things we've done in terms of competition. A lot of the processes, even though we have lots of free resources, it's not enough to get people excited about Blender, unfortunately. In Hong Kong, I think learning time is very precious and competitive. When you're choosing Blender, you're competing against everything else, like maths and like Chinese and English. So it was a process just to get the schools interested in the subject, which is why we had to do all these seminars. On top of that, we built up an initial layer of free resources to make sure that participation can be ramped up. And then afterwards, we might do more like paid sessions for more kind of like face-to-face kind of learning. Yeah, so that's our current plan. In terms of building up the community, we think the next step is to kind of support and build around the Blender Badges Foundation that we've helped work on as well. And our proposal that we'll explore later on as well is a qualification framework. And it's really, the differentiation is based on the open source foundation of the badges, right? How do we ensure that the certification part, right, goes through well, right? So the badges exist, it's an open standard, but who's there to give out those certificates and say, okay, you are qualified to have a certain badge? And we also want this to be a community effort. And the way we've done this is, first, we're providing all these educational materials, right? So the 20 hours of online courses, we're also going to give back to the community, right? And we're going to help align that with the Blender badges, right? At least for the initial learning stages. But this is one version in at most 3 languages, and there has to be lots of variation for different countries, and we hope for this effort to be done by everyone together. And our initiative that we'd like to start is an alliance of Blender educators working together to pool resources and align with the Blender badges standard, and also eventually to make this a more sustainable effort. We'd also like this to incorporate a few different elements that we'll go into detail. Right. And on top of the badges, we'd also like to build a kind of certified trainer program. And this is, I think this harkens to some of the themes that have been around in Blender before. But I think with the foundation badges concept in place, it makes it a lot more solid in terms of what we're actually here to teach. And it's a common standard for what we think is important for when you start off with Blender. And I'm sure we'll learn more in the badges session, right? There's a lot of design that has gone into that in the past year, and we're very open to like everyone's feedback. But the foundation is a core idea, and then we do try to specialize into different smaller fields within 3D as well. Skip ahead a little bit. Yeah, I think that the challenges that we've seen so far are some things that we can consider as we're moving forward. The first is really language barriers. Doing everything 3 times is not fun. But for us, we have 2 different dialects of Chinese as well as English. But it's much easier with AI right now. But there's still, it gets you maybe 90% of the way, and we still have a team that has to do all the editing. And this is something that, the technology and the platforms that we built, we're happy to work with the community to use that together. But there still has to be an effort, like people actually working on the materials at the end of the day. And in terms of training expertise, we do want to democratize this as well. As much as possible, we're going to try to design a platform that has loads of free resources, makes it easy to get those certifications, and is monitored and designed by the community and for the community, which is why the alliance of educators has to have everyone's support in order to make it work. We're happy to do some of the work to get it started, right? But it has to be a community effort. And technical support is a larger problem. I think when we get into schools and schools start using Blender, teachers will start facing problems of their own. Lots of schools in Hong Kong still use Windows 7 and can't install Blender. That was an issue we ran into before. So it may have to be a mix of government, working with the government to subsidize kind of hardware upgrades, or using kind of virtualization options. That's also something we're working with partners on. Using web-based solutions where servers are somewhere else and you can run Blender on their machines. Then you can run on an iPad, for example, which is more accessible. Then it comes down to affordability, because hardware costs money, hosting costs money, cloud-based costs money. So yeah, it's a balance between these different initiatives. Sharing a bit about the teachers we've seen so far, there's a kind of typical persona we've seen. And when we're trying to work with schools, I think the biggest focus would be the concerns part. A lot of them feel themselves unqualified to teach these innovative technologies. And that means that often when we're entering school the first time, the first step is always teacher training, teaching the, say, visual arts teachers or IT teachers how they can get started with Blender, and it's not that hard. And they realize that, okay, we can pick this up and teach the students. But yeah, we have to bring them to a level that's in the level sense, in the badges sense, we think it's at least one level above the students before they can teach the level below. That's our rough rule of thumb right now. But yeah, I think it's giving them the confidence. And then after that, we need to locally, we're also working with them to align not just with the Blender badges, but also with the local curriculum, because the government also has standards for what can be taught in the classroom, and that's something we're working with schools to do as well. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. We'll skip ahead a bit. Just concerning time, yeah. And in terms of learning path, we have slight differentiation between students and teachers. For students, it's really for us in terms of the badges and the curriculum, it's more skill-based. So we emphasize a few things in our teaching. It's knowledge, skills, and tools at the same time. Blender is free, so we have the tool in place. And the knowledge will be based on the school environment, right? What we want to pair with the skills. So the thing that ties everything together is the foundation skills, which is defined by the badges. But for teachers, we have a bit more requirements. When we're designing a trainer program, we expect them to learn more, deeper in the skills level. And we also expect them to have some kind of pedagogical training in terms of how to approach the subject when working with kids. So that's generally how we're designing the train the trainer programs right now. Yeah. So there's a lot of design behind it, and this is something we can explore again in detail later. But these are all things that we've mused and brainstormed, but we'd love everyone's feedback on. Yeah, and in the future, we hope this to be an international thing where it's not just about the resources, it's not just about kind of getting people, the knowledge that they need to teach Blender. It's also opening up a network of trainers around the world where everyone's skills and resources can be shared with other regions. If you know Blender, you can kind of bring this tool around and share that knowledge with lots of people around the world. And the badges and the qualification framework can act as the foundation basis for that. Yeah, that's the dream. All right, cool. That's it. All right, thank you so much, and happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, thank you so much for the presentation. So with your students, are you alluding to something that can relate to with Blender, such animation or visual effects, or is your training more to give them like a basic knowledge, in this case Blender? And is there also like a big games or animation industry in your country or your city?
Yeah. So in China, yes, there's a huge animation games industry. The extent to which they're using Blender, I'm waiting to find out, and we'll find out more at the Blender Day that we're hosting later this year. But yeah, we're seeing lots of community efforts. In terms of the teaching, because we start teaching at such a young age, we're more teaching them to be generalists. So Blender as a tool, sometimes we combine it with other tools as well, across 2D, design, UI, UX. And we don't push them into any particular field early on. But like later, say like 15 plus, that's when we start introducing more specific fields, I think. But yeah, it's really open to them. The badges or the qualification framework, it's age agnostic. But the curriculum materials are age specific. So when we teach to younger kids, we don't specify a field in particular. Yeah. Yeah. But that's our way, but not necessarily the way. Yeah.
No, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Any more questions? You talked about you're organizing a Blender Day, but what is the Blender Day?
Yeah, the Blender Day. Yeah. So in case you didn't miss the lightning talk yesterday, there's a BCon LA that happened, which was amazing. Woo! Yeah. Sad we weren't able to be there, but yeah, we think it's also a good time to start something in our part of the world. So we're going to do 1 day of Blender contents in Shenzhen in November 15th this year. But if you can't make it this year, no worries. We're going to do it hopefully year after year because there's a huge community there and we want to get everyone involved. Yeah, and education will be a big part of it.
Oh, it will be wonderful.
Yeah. So we're gonna share our knowledge. We have some teachers that have been teaching these programs to adults and kids. We're gonna bring them in to share their experience as well. But yeah, like not just from our team as well. We also know people at universities who have been using Blender in their work. There's quite a handful of universities in Hong Kong actually using Blender. So yeah, we're trying to get them in to share as well. And we can try to make that either recorded or streamed, so everyone can join as well. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
I was just gonna say, if you are looking into streaming Blender on different devices, we are working with a company called Vocational.
Okay.
Try to do that as well.
Yeah.
Because everyone just has Chromebooks.
Yeah.
iOS.
Yeah.
It is expensive though.
Yeah,
so
it's
really
expensive.
get around that.
Yeah.
We want to upcharge our customers to be able to do that. But if you're looking for a company, you might talk.
Sure. Yeah. We have a partner in China that we think it's expensive, but their charge right now is 30 RMB per day, which is around $5 a day. It adds up though.
Yeah.
Like if you use it every day.
Exactly.
But yeah, we're trying to see if they can do any educator deals. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Any more questions? If not, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And looking forward to your qualification.
This is a short presentation. My name is Bert Soerenlamert. I'm from the Netherlands. I'm a Blender teacher and an artist with 3D. While Dutch people are often praised by their language skills, I can assure you that isn't always the case. I'm sorry. About 20 years ago, I transitioned into education to teach animation. Before that, I worked in the industry creating animations and special effects for companies and television. So that's a long time ago. I can show you, here's an example of a show I made, an introduction of a TV show for children. And as you can see, it's the old 4x3. So just to show it. Well, that was a children TV show a long time ago. And then I went to education. For nearly 20 years ago, I've been teaching in Arnhem, a city located about 100 kilometers from Amsterdam in the Netherlands. I teach at Rijn-IJssel, as you can see, a vocational education institute with around 12,000 students spread across multiple locations. Over the years, our department has moved several times within Arnhem, but we have been on the current building for a few years now. While the students, they enjoy the space, we feel the building could use more creative atmosphere, and we are actively working now this with teachers and students to make it more colorful. The program I teach is called Media Vormgever, which means media design. Let me see. The education lasts 4 years. The main subjects are animation, of course, audiovisual design, graphic design, interactive design, mixed media analog, so that's drawing and painting. And you can see that animations is just a part of the curriculum. So, when I started 20 years ago, the school uses specialized computers with 3D Studio Max, and I was not happy with it. So 10 years ago, I changed this to Blender. That was a good decision. Students could now use their software on their own laptops and allowing them to practice in their own time. Well, that sounds promising. But hij gaat niet. Yeah. With animation, initially faced some challenges. We have some, because we do 2D as well in Photoshop and After Effects and Animator. So Blender is even more small part of the education. So in the first year, students only receive 8 weeks of Blender lessons, and it's not 8 full weeks, but just 8 sessions of 3 hours each. So that's a really smart part. Um, um, to learn Blender, I was searching on the internet 10 years ago, but I couldn't see good instruction videos for my lesson, so I made a lot of videos myself, and so they're working perfectly with our course. What did I do? First, I learned the interface and primitives, of course, and working with curves, non-destructive wine glasses, which I bring into the class in real life so they can see the plate and have to make it in Blender. Then I have a couch, thanks to IKEA. I measure it, and so they can use specific sizes to do it. And then at the end, they're making a room in Blender on their own choice, and without textures, only a texture of themselves. So textures is later in the education. So this is the result I'm getting. So you see on the left a heart, a glasses, and the couch, and here is a room they made. But then in the second, third, and fourth year, they have animation lessons, of course, but also the other things. But they can also choose electives to personalize their education. So during these years, they can choose to have more time to work with Blender and can deepen their animation skills. So a select group of students will have their interest and go for it. So this is a result of this two orthographic rooms, much better than in the first year. And I have a compilation of some animations they make, and I will show you. Thanks to the wealth of the online instructional content, our students grasp the basic. After this, they are able to dive deeper into Blender and develop their skills as independent designers. And just last week, I overheard a discussion among students about the importance of having a degree. One student said something that really made me happy. Come on. I couldn't agree more with choosing Blender. So, Thank you for your attention. No questions?
Any questions for Bert?
So 10 years ago, there was not much.
Well, the things I found on the internet were very mostly complicated.
Yeah.
And to start with Blender, that was not useful.
Yeah.
So I started with the basics of building up. And that's nice because later in the education they will find on the internet the complex ones, but then they are being self-educational. Yeah.
I was curious, how hard was it for your school management to convince to drop 3D Max and go for Blender?
Well, I was convincing, I think. Well, we had a special classroom with a lot of PCs where the Max was on. So my lessons always had to be in that room, and the students had to buy a laptop for the other lessons. So it was easy to say, well, if we use Blender, we don't have to use this computer room anymore.
Ah, that's a nice trick. That's a nice trick.
And nowadays I asking for heavy computers to get back to have the quicker rendering.
Just get them out of the computer room and they can use Blender. Oh, amazing, amazing. Any more questions? Yes.
Yeah, so thank you for the presentation. Are you introducing your students to other open source software such as Krita as an alternative for Photoshop and maybe DaVinci Resolve as a free alternative to After Effects and so on?
Actually, no. We use Adobe for the Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, and After Effects as well. And that's because when they go to internship, they have most companies use these software, so they have to be used by the students as well.
Some DaVinci Resolve used at schools, and I think it's going to be more of a discussion in the future, especially since the move to AI Adobe's been making.
Okay.
Maybe speak to us again in 2 years, and maybe.
Okay. Yeah. So this is the employability factor that's really important.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and that was a good way for Blender as well to promote Blender, because if a student go to an internship where they don't have 3D software and they say, hey, I can do this in 3D, but yes, but it's free, I can do it. Yeah. So that's a good thing to do. Yeah.
Does your school also teach them like game design and like game engines, or is it mostly focused on animation?
It's now on animation, but students can go their own way a bit. That's why I want to have also the strong computers, because we don't have lessons in Unreal or Unity or Godot, but maybe in VR I will. So there's a change coming on. Yeah. Yeah.
If there are no more questions, thank you very much, Bert. Yeah, it's fine. I propose a small break. Well, small, 15 minutes break. We meet back at 11:30 for the Blender Badges project. Thank you very much.
All right, you have it there? Perfect. Okay, so this is a short walk through what we did in the past year. We had some work to first define the basic badges. I'm a bit confused with this. Worked on Miro and tried to define what we thought are the basic, the foundation badges for different topics like like shading, sculpting, animation, modeling, whatever. And then
Yes.
and then put all this together on a website?
I think we started a year ago together with a team of people to just draw our rough ideas on the mural board. And it took quite some iterations to determine, okay, what are foundations? What is it? And basically we made a distinction between what is foundation and what is professional level. So foundation levels is also something you can teach at just professional schools like me in high school or Bert at I think MBO Rijnijssel. But the professional level is more something you want to teach well at applied schools or professional schools or even universities. So it really depends. So we just start like, okay, let's determine what foundation is. And the next level would be, okay, from this foundation, how can you build up to the more professional level? And we haven't reached that point yet. So past year we only worked on what is foundation. Again, it's still work in progress. And we would like to get the feedback from the community, see where we can adjust things, where we need to change things, get into the discussion. But we're not finished. We just started with the foundations. And again, the badges are created by one of our students, I think one of your students.
Philip Opitz.
Philip, who created the badges for us. So they're available, and you can use these badges in your at your schools and or where you teach. Even you are more doing community projects, and you can hand out these badges. And the next project we're also going to talk about is, okay, when do you think a student is qualified enough to earn such a badge? And this is one of the next thing. I think Katina and Tim are going to discuss more about that. In some countries, it's very important that you have a qualification framework here in place in order to hand out something. And some countries are a bit more open and free about that. So that's why it is important to have something like that. We haven't started working on yet. The idea was, let's start with what is foundation, and then you can decide, okay, how do we qualify for that? So the foundation is where we started, and again, we're not finished. We will also do a shout out to the community. We need material, video material, and that sort of thing to link to it. Say, hey, if you want to have that badge, you need to check this. And by the way, follow this course. There you get a tutorial, and you can get a badge like this. Maybe Edouard, you can take us through the foundation badges a bit.
Yes. First of all, I wanted to get to one point. For me, the Education Badges project was, from the beginning, it wasn't so much about qualification and about certificates, because I think it makes sense to have some foundation for everyone to use, some open source foundation anyone can build upon. And whatever you do with that is fine. So, for example, you focus on the qualification more, and this is a perfect. It fits perfectly together, I think. And I would really like to see this project as a basis, as an open source resource for everyone to use. So and for everyone to work on, of course. We have the different areas I talked about earlier, like modeling, animation, and so on. And it's relatively basic at the moment. It's mostly text-based. So we have a definition of what the badges are. And for each area, we have 3 badges, foundation badges. It's a level 1 to 3. And we define for each level what it's about, what's the content of it, and what a student will learn. Then the interface, keyboards, shortcuts, and interactions. and then a tick list of what is learned with this. And the idea is to have some example tasks for that. That would be nice, and this is a task that's ahead of us because it's very time consuming, and yeah, and it needs some professional background to create really appealing videos and materials. So this is something, yeah, we have been discussing, but we are not there yet, and there are ideas how we could accomplish this. For example, by taking a fund of Epic. They have money, I think.
I don't know. They used to have money.
They
I'm
used to
not
have
sure.
money. For example,
For example, but
if there
that
are
is
any other ideas how to go about this would
Yeah.
be great to discuss.
maybe a bit of background. So basically, it's kind of a framework. So it's you see a basic setup of what we think are the modeling level, but also for animation, sculpting, rigging. So we usually have 3 or 4 foundation levels. And per level, we just describe, okay, what should be learned. So what will a student learn? What are the objectives? The interface and keyboard. And basically, this is something, that you can check, which what we call, okay, did the student meet the learning goals? Did the student meet the learning targets of this batch? We have some examples, but again, currently it's just very text based. And like you see, this is a bit more bullet points. We were running into a bit of time.
Yeah, okay.
So this can be extended, but we don't want to go and write your curriculum. We just want to say, okay, this is what we think it's level 1, and you can incorporate this in your school or in your curriculum at your school or where you teach, and have a set of materials, have a set of tutorials. And these examples are just examples that we came up with, but I can imagine that other people will have other examples. I'm just gonna try, what should we take? Rigging. There we have, you start with very basic armatures. And I need to click on this, which is also, again, focusing on learning goals, interface, keyboard, and what a student can do with some examples. The examples are very much currently text-based. It's very simple, very basic, and this is something we need to work on a bit more. So again, if teachers, you have materials, please share with us. Please think along with us. And if you have video tutorials, also align, because we can then point to wherever your tutorial is and say, okay, for this level rigging, level 1 batch, these are some example videos or tutorials you can follow as a school to do this, right? And you can earn the badge. Reminds me, we have to somewhere put the batch files in that schools can download. What we're not gonna do is, and this is a bit of challenge that we also discussed with Tom, like I cannot check the market. So if people will go here, download things, and go giving a handout badges, that's something that we as a community cannot solve. We're not gonna follow this. This is something that Tom also said, okay, we cannot do this. So it's really up to the community and basically you, where we can say, okay, these people, if they hand out a badge, okay, they're real teachers, there's a school who's handing it out. But if some YouTube people go providing badges, that's not what this is aimed for. This is aimed for schools and maybe people like CG Cookie or HBO, people with really an education background, to hand out, to check if a student has accomplished what he has to accomplish and how they hand out the badge. But we cannot stop the market from behaving. And that is a bit of a challenge. That's something we discussed as well and discussed with Tom, like, okay, we cannot control the market if you put this online And Tom's response was, "It's going,"
Yeah.
and you can't do anything about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's one reason why I rather like to think about these badges as a guideline for myself when I want to learn Blender and to find out, okay, what do I already know and what do I have to learn to get to a certain point, and also for teachers to have the possibility to just have a guideline how to prepare and first of all, a common language to talk about this. So batch level, modeling level 2. When I say modeling level 2, everyone knows what I'm talking about. So that's the main idea. And whatever comes out of it is perfectly fine. So
Yeah, and even if a school or a teacher decides to reorder, that's fine.
Yeah.
As long as you have a common language. So it can be that as a school you say, well, I'm gonna start at 2 and then take level 1 and take level 3 for whatever reason. That's fine. I mean, it's up to you to have a curriculum. At least we can understand each other if we talk about a certain level or a certain batch. We know what you're talking about, and we can refer to the proper examples to teach.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So are badges gonna be associated with Blender IDs? Or are they just
no,
general?
it's
It's just
completely,
general.
guys. It's not connected to Blender IDs or something.
Yeah,
We have
just-
these community badges. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it would be cool. I think you
Yeah.
were mentioning.
Yeah, I think it would be cool, and it might be a way to mitigate like how
Yeah.
they're able to receive those.
All right.
Right.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. Well, that's something to discuss.
Yeah.
Basically, we said, okay, we don't have the time to mitigate that.
Mhm.
Right.
But if there are people in the community who say, okay, let's do this and let's mitigate this. Our first idea was, well, we put it in the open, and schools, they can use it.
Right,
And it's mainly meant for schools to start drawing their curriculum
Nice.
and reaching out to teachers or people providing tutorials, for example. And we don't want to be in that, because we don't want to mitigate that.
Yeah, it's,
But okay, if it's just free for everyone to use,
Got
and for all schools to use. But yeah, I'm not sure if we should hand this to the Blender ID stuff. But basically, we said, okay, we can't expect schools to ask the teachers or the students to create Blender ID stuff. But if you want to go ahead and provide teaching material, and based on these badges, and you want to mitigate, hey, please do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. And I think, Katina, the Crystal Institute is kind of aiming to go into that direction for the market, the Asian market, to take these badges as an example and provide a platform of, for students to learn, for schools to use, where they can hand it out. So I think Crystal Institute is moving in that direction, but they will doing this. They're doing this on their own platform. I'm correct, right?
We'll share
So-
more. Yeah.
And show more and a bit more. So what you're saying is going to be done, well, by you. We're not going to do that. We don't have the time
That's
to do
it.
this.
Yeah, we teachers, we're not
We don't
in
have-
a different business.
So, but as a platform, you can
Right.
decide to do it, and I know you guys are doing this.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
If I
Do
should
you want to see more?
some more
I'd
or
say
just
if it's online.
yeah, it's
If it's
Um,
online, we'll be able to see it.
yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be
Absolutely.
online.
Yeah.
The thing was that basically we had a. I think at the end of September we were like, okay, really, we need to have all the text in, so we put a lot of nighttime, and then I think Don and Pablo did a review, and
Had
then
some
we had to
remarks.
change. We had some remarks, so we changed that. But then it was 2 weeks before Blender conference. So Pablo was like, I'm busy at the Blender conference.
Yeah.
So they didn't have the time to bring it online. The idea is it's gonna be online. It's gonna be on the Blender projects blender.org, where they have this like development studio, and it's gonna be the third one, education, which is gonna link to the education project So I need to check with, I think Julian and Paolo when they're gonna do that. But it's definitely gonna be after the conference.
Yeah.
But that was I think we were a bit on a time schedule and they were like, we were not in time to hand it over to go online.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I'm sorry I came in much later because I had no idea this is where it was. I was roaming around in the lower floors, then I saw one and I said, okay, it must be somewhere up there.
All right.
Okay, I mean, it's really confusing. This is the first time I've come here. So anyway, let me get to the question. See, if we are giving out badges, which I think is a really good thing, and you took the example of Unreal Engine because we have a whole bunch of people who are Unreal Engine. I mean, I run a college in India. So who are Unreal authorized instructors. That system is very solid. And I think talking to Don about something like that, he says, no way. That's not where we want to go.
Mhm.
So this becomes essentially a self-regulating system.
Yes.
Yes.
So when you hand out a badge, you are seeing how has the student accomplished these certain things. Because even with Unreal, we find that it's much easier to do foundation certifications like you're doing. And it's impossible to check how advanced somebody is. So this really becomes very useful for getting basic Blender knowledge across. And I think that probably will be the main foundation because there are so many people who want to shift to Blender.
Yeah.
So either they're shifting to Blender and they need to be tackled differently or they're starting from scratch, which is much easier, believe me. The students who start without knowing any 3D and they shift to Blender, they really do awesome. And people who come from Max or Cinema 4D, they have Maya, they have a huge amount of problem changing their mindset. So we teach both kinds of people and you realize a lot of people want to shift. So how do you actually get the outcome and say, the lamp is such a good thing, everybody knows the Pixar lamp animation. So can you rig a lamp? Okay, and here is the lamp. So would we be having certain files that we give the student and say, hey,
That's the idea.
You can rig it well. It's how does it work?
On the long term, that's the idea.
Okay.
Are we there yet? No. Like
So
I said,
you want us to
it's not
contribute
nice.
all the elements that
So it would be nice to contribute,
Yeah,
especially
yeah.
on the tasks, the example tasks. And again, the next step is going to be the qualification, which you're also referring to. Like, how do you decide if somebody has learned the basics?
Yeah.
What are example tasks to, and the reason why we started this, and Eduard was starting this because he ran into this issue of I'm sending students to a school in the Netherlands and they have a totally different way of how they teach, which is fine. I know when we started this project, my goal was all schools are emailing me, a lot of schools are emailing me, like, how do I start? And I was telling the story all over again and asking me to join their board. I'm like, okay, guys, I cannot join all the boards in the Netherlands. Come on. So I'm also relying on the teachers to fulfill this. And that's a good point you're putting into. Like, okay, I know a lot of schools are struggling with it. Teachers are not confident to teach this. So that's where we want to reach out. Like, okay, we have some foundations to base your curriculum on. And the next step that we want to do is have example tutorials, example
and
files.
school students just outperform everybody. Believe me.
Yeah, but
I mean,
I think this is a bigger topic even because when we're talking about
something that just become awesome.
Yeah. So this is we see this as the first step.
Yeah, but I also think that this is a bigger topic because having these badges like descriptions of what you should have learned or it's a different thing than having course material because it really makes a difference whether it's aimed at 10-year-olds or 20-year-olds.
Exactly.
How it is integrated in a curriculum at our school. So I guess it is possible to have some basic examples of how to accomplish things, but in the end, it's up to the institution who teaches to prepare the material.
I can imagine if you want to teach a lamp to 12 or to 16-year-olds, you will get a different lamp or a different tutorial.
Yeah.
And you focus on different things.
Focus on 18, 20 plus. So there could be multiple examples, multiple ages, for multiple schools, type of schools, multiple ages, etc. And this is something we want to have it, but still, it's up to the school and the teachers to decide on that.
Also, in 15 years, what I've realized is you now need to teach as first. What that is you open the software and show them something really awesome, and then say, hey, you can't do that. Now let's start at the beginning. So the first classes, they fiddle with something really awesome. And they know, oh, great, we can do this. If we start, oh, here's the interface,
Everyone's out.
It doesn't work at all.
I do have to go, but I do want to say that we have some free courses from SIG Computer skills. That's something that you could like press start with Jonathan Landbell.
Great.
That would be great.
So if that's useful, would you want to just link to the course, or would you need the course files itself to be?
I think linking is perfect.
Linking is perfect.
And we also have Draw, which is for grease pencil, which isn't up there, but I don't.
No, exactly. Again, we didn't have grease pencil, but that was more. We're running out of time.
Right.
So
and grease pencil's about to change, so we'll probably need a whole new one.
Yeah, so it would be wonderful to have grease pencil there. This is the set we started with, but again, it's not finished yet. This is not the set that we need. So if somebody wants to pick up grease pencil,
great.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
So I have to run.
Let's stay in touch.
Yes.
Do you have a question?
Well, I would think I have a student now, and she's very bad in mathematics.
Yeah.
And the rules are changed in the Netherlands, so if she can't do mathematics, she can't get a degree.
All right.
So this would be nice to say, hey, you have these
course material.
How do you call it?
Yeah, absolutely. Just to have something out of the course. Have some kind of certification.
And again,
So the seriosity of it.
Yeah, that's
an important subject.
That's true.
That's true. That's true. Yes, please.
I have a question because before you mentioned that certain schools would be like certified to give out badges so that it has more meaning to it. Because if everybody can just download the JPEG files and add it to their CV, it's defeats the whole purpose. That's no problem. I was wondering, do schools then get, for example, because I'm from Digital Arts Entertainment, we are a Houdini licensed school, we are a Unreal licensed school, and are we then also going to be a Blender licensed school?
Yeah, there's not going to be a Blender license.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Because
exactly.
every school, like if I'm becoming a teacher on my own, I can also say like, hey, I'm Blender certified. Give me 500,000 euros, and now you're a Blender guru. That's a deal. That's the thing that I'm worried about. It devaluates the value of those badges.
Exactly, and this is a concern we have as well.
Because I love
the thing is that maybe a question to the audience: do you think we haven't put the badges online yet? But this is something to discuss. Like, okay. Do we put it online with the risk of everybody downloading these badges, or
if they are online somewhere, they can share it anyway, right? So if they are like on a Discord server somewhere,
absolutely. I mean, I have an opinion about this because I think that our main topic is not certification, and everyone can use these badges for whatever. And what really matters is if you have an exam from an institution. So when they learn Blender at our school, then I can certify they did some things, and okay, I can put some badges on that. I don't have to do it, but for example, with Bert in Arnhem, when someone failed the exam, you can still give them some badges, but it doesn't matter that they have the badges, but it matters that they learned at your school. That's the important thing. So, for example, for your example, it would matter that someone visited your school, your institution, and not that they have the badge, or maybe the combination of both.
So you said that some schools would be certified and not. That's why
not
No, we're
certification.
not going to certify schools. It's basically up to the school and up to you to take the badge and to hand out the badge. And but I hear your concern. Everybody can do that. I think it may. The thing is that if I'm a student and I'm coming from your school, I can say, okay, I have the badge. I went to your school and I earned the badge from your school, from your education, rather than somebody who says, okay, I have the badge.
Yeah,
I think
that makes, I get what
so.
you mean.
It's always the combination of earning the badge along the fact that you have provided me the badge. And I think that's the value of it. Yes.
I was thinking of it more like a form of gamification, so the students will have learning. Hey, I'm getting another badge. I'm getting, because everybody loves getting these badges. So so if we avoid the certification thing and look at it, because Don's been against that for like 10 years. We've been trying. Don have something, we wanted it. We have we have Don said no.
Yes.
And Don's been very strong about that no, this is about learning and it's not about certification.
This is also for us not about certificates. Although I know that for certain school it's very important.
So
for us it's just the badges, and if you as a school, you can give the badges to the student, which I think gives it a bit more value, because then the student can really go and say, okay, I've really earned this, and somebody looked at this. So if people want to go along with these badges and just put them on, to me it's like, okay, you can do it, but if you're gonna sell it like, hey,
suppose you have a, let's say, bronze, silver, gold badge, then you can say, okay, I got the gold badge, no, I don't need to put the other badge. Gold badge.
But again,
you could
I think
have like 100 badges, you could just have a few badges.
I think it becomes then important to say, like, okay, I didn't just earn the badge. I got this badge from
so and so school. Yes.
That's institute.
So it's a combination.
It's a combination. And that's one way to go about. But again, it's not about a certificate. It's just about, students love to have badges.
They love badges.
And even for, like the example of Bert, if a student has a difficulty with math, can't get the school diploma, they still can earn something. And that's something that at my school we also do. That students, apart from their school diploma, they can earn badges. And we have a badge report where they can, they bring along when they go to the university, and they can show already online. Some already have LinkedIn profiles and say, hey, look, I've earned these badges from my school with the name of the school printed. Yes.
I suppose it's also, I think you mentioned it, it's a great tool for student exchange. So when a student of ours goes to an Indian college in Berlin, you can easily say, well, I'm up to batch 2 on the modeling part. You can perhaps better slide someone in the curriculum because you understand what that means. What the student is still has to learn, or where he's ahead. So I think it's also possibly a good communication tool between schools on student levels.
That's exactly what these badges mean to me personally. So this is what I want to use them for. And when we have a standard that we all agree on, then it becomes more valuable for everyone of us. So that's the idea.
And maybe, in the Netherlands we have, in Europe we have a lot of students exchange. I think in a few weeks' time I will again some students from Germany were visiting us.
Really?
So we have a lot of students exchange, and that's why for Europe this is important, that we talk kind of the same language. But I can imagine we can have students exchange, for instance, with Hong Kong, or with the US, or with Australia, or somewhere. Also Africa, I don't know, maybe South America. Then it would be nice to at least talk one language and
I think the teacher has to go to Hong Kong.
That would be wonderful. The next education meeting, somewhere in November in Hong Kong. It would be great. Yes, it will be wonderful. Yes.
Yeah, thanks for putting this together. I think it's really great also for signposting. So I was brought in a month ago to design a course internally for a university for research fellows from the automotive industry. So I wrote my own 10-week program, and if I would have known this, I could then tell my bosses or the course leader, okay, I've designed this, and it's in line with these and these badges.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's really nice.
Absolutely. I think you had the same question for me earlier, that you were also running into that if you want to teach, at least you can show like, hey, I'm aligning my course with something that's standard.
Yeah.
And again, you can fit it to your own school and you can change it to fit your school purpose. But what you told me is that at least to have something that you can align against it and that you can go to your boss or the head of the school, right? You are running into the same issue. Yes.
Looks more official.
Well, it's not meant as official.
Yeah,
it's
that's
just
it.
it's
It just
basically a
looks like
reference.
that, so-
Yeah.
It looks like that.
Yeah.
But I know there are a lot of school teachers who are like, yes, this would be great. Not just that I'm coming and I'm just doing something, but that there is something to align against.
Yeah.
Cool. Would this be something for you guys to use, to learn in your school? To adapt?
I think it's very useful, basically. It's just a question of, like you said, it's an open guideline, everybody can adapt it and
Yes.
use it.
Great. Yes.
Like for me, for example, so we're a college school slash university as well. So I think for us, we have a lot of like 18-year-olds coming in and they've come to like open days or student gigs. And I think I would give this to them to say, okay, you want to prep to come to our school? Here is a website, see how far you can get. Right? We'll start from scratch anyway, because we start from scratch for every course. But for them it's also for them to test the water. Do I like this? No. Do I really hate sitting 8 hours after my computer a day? Right? Because then they can really like de-enroll and other stuff. So I think for that it's great. And also indeed to use the badges, I think could be fun. But for us it will need to go a lot deeper. I don't know if you're still working on it.
Yes, this is an ongoing project. So I kind of want to invite you. Please join. Give us feedback, because we're still missing a lot. And we started with a foundation. And let's at least agree on this, that this is foundation and we need a lot of more foundations, like for grease pencil.
Out of Blender as well, because like for us, Blender is a tool in which we teach 3D from this year on. So we switched. So each year we have 1,000 students enrolling in our school. So now we switched, so we have 1,000 new students coming into Blender. That's nice. But for us, Blender is the tool in which we teach, because we want them to know how 3D just works in general. So I'm just wondering, does this go explaining UV mapping, for example, is a universal concept? It's not really limited.
We had this discussion, and because, like I said, we just started with a foundation, but the idea is to build up upon that. So, do we have professional level badges? To be honest, yes, we have them designed, but we haven't worked on it yet to decide what is a professional level. And that's the next phase that we also want to go. One, put in the foundation level properly and have proper example tutorials. But we also want to work with you guys to start defining what is the professional level. And which is that is going back to the Miro board and say, okay, now you have the foundation. If a student masters the foundation, what could be the different professional levels? And we can also handle badges. So yes, the idea is there. We want to move to more complex things, but we need people like you to help us out on that.
Yeah, but my question was more like, do you step away from blenders?
We had that discussion
more
actually.
fundamental knowledge of
Yes.
3D is than, because of course this is Blender conference and respect to every one of you. For me,
No, yes, we want that.
Teach what 3D is.
Yes.
So we had that discussion, and I think it's a bit about the level we're talking about, because of course the basic the foundation levels are more about Blender, I guess, than more advanced levels would be, because the more advanced you get, the less important it is to use a specific tool, and the more important become these abstract concepts that are behind all that.
Yeah.
So this is something we need to discuss. Actually.
Exactly. We discussed having something like general batches, but it was a bit too vague. Which is basically addressing the same point as you're doing. Like, okay, you want to explain some theory.
Yeah, exactly.
And do we put theory here or not? Yeah, of course, you can add theory. And we can also add them to the foundation. But for now, we just kept the foundation just in the basics. And we are still discussing, like, okay, when are you really going to discuss a bit more in-depth theory? And again, we were running into the issue, when discussing, we had the discussion like, okay, the theory is different when you create a course for, let's say, 12 to 18, and if you do 18 plus. And then the theory becomes a bit different.
The work just stacks up, right? So
exactly. And so yes, we can, if you have some ideas, please, let's discuss. We had a discussion and we were like, okay, we're a bit, we need to take more time to discuss this, whether we want to have some theory behind it as well. But yeah, I would say join.
Yeah, I guess the direction this all takes depends on the people who are involved. So yeah, everyone who would like to put some effort in it, discuss with us and just do some things.
I can show the current members. Like, so, let's say there are lots of people involved, currently actively working on this, or me, myself, Edouard, we have Matte, we have Federico, Pita in the UK, Katina and Timothy are also working on it. We had Philip, who's a student who helped us design the website, and he designed all the badges. Did I mention everyone? Peter, Timothy, Philip, Matte, Fons. Fons is a bit busy at the moment.
Yeah.
So
he had to design. He had working on the badges, but lately he wasn't able to.
He wasn't able to continue, but he worked on a few of the foundation badges. So yes, so we're still looking for people to help out, and especially people who also want to take the step to the more professional level. Yeah. Cool. Again, work in progress.
Yeah, that's it.
it's
I guess next year we'll stand here again and
hopefully say, let's say the project has been growing. We have this now. So yeah, I'm asking you to join, help out, share, and basically we want this to have this really cool Blender education thing online, projects.org, which is hopefully going to grow in the next years.
Yeah, and we had a format at the beginning when we were quite a few people where we met once a month online, and we already thought that we need to change that format
a bit. Yeah.
The more people come in, the more difficult it gets to find a sweet spot in time.
Yeah.
And yeah, and we are talking about this, and we will see how we end up.
Because we have Katina and Tim in Hong Kong. We have which aligns nice with Federico in
Singapore.
In Singapore. So, and we have people from the US and the UK. So this was always a bit of a challenge, but I think up to now we've kind of managed.
Yeah, we have this Discord server at the moment.
Yes.
Where we meet, but I guess we need to find a good way to communicate in the future. Hopefully, the more people come in.
Yes, but let's see. Let it first. One thing I learned from Thomas, he always says, let it first become a problem. Because then we'll fix it. Cool. Any more questions? We're here. We can talk, discuss. And I want to propose a short break. As usual, we're again running out of time with education. And then I would ask Katina to prepare the Blender qualification talk.
Okay, thank you very much.
I'll introduce a bit, and Katina will offer some background. So we want to start this conversation by saying that we're 100% aligned with the Blender badges being an open source standard for everyone. But I think a few of the discussion points we had earlier during the Q&A was how do we make sure that these badges are credible? How do we execute, how do we use these badges in a way that is agreed upon by the community? Because I agree that we can't really stop the market from doing whatever we want. I'll just name a crazy example. There's people who sell Blender in China. Yeah, it costs around $5 or $6, right? It's not a lot of money, but people do that, right? So our idea is, at the end of this discussion, we're going to offer some kind of information on how we think would be a good system for setting this up, right? And we want to be one of the key founding contributors as well, because we are here to put in the work to make this system work for everyone. But I want to preface by saying this is just our ideas, and we should all build this up together and and build an alliance together. Yeah, I'll pass on to Katina to give some feedback and kind of basic info on our thoughts.
In case there are some new face that it's the first time to join this SIG, so in last year we have introduced what our KI, that means Crystal Institute Qualification, was. So let me give you more information about it, so that we want to build a system that can help us to provide a standardized guidelines that can help teacher and student to understand what they are learn or they are going to teach. And also we are going to set some level indicators so that make sure teacher can understand what they teach to student are measurable. So basically we have four, it's like a stage design. So the largest unit is subject. So the subject consists of the levels, topics, and knowledge points. So if we go to the knowledge point, it's all about it's all about the learning objective, that about the knowledge, skills, and tools that student will learn in the lesson. Yeah, and this is our design for Blender, for 3D animation lesson. So for next is about the topics that our standard lesson is 1 hour. So how do we distribute different session into an hour teaching? So you can see we have divided into 3 sessions, like apply practice. That means student can the time they do exercise, and also we have some discussion time, and also some knowledge explanation. That's for teacher to teach about the concept. Yeah, and next move to the level, and you can see there is a comparison between the level 0 that we taught in our standard is called entry level, and then go to level 1, level 2, level 3, like the modeling and animation basics. And this slide we showed earlier is about the learning activity in Blender. Yeah. So how do we align with current Blender educational badge? You can see there is a linkage. So like what we teach, the knowledge one is linked to the what a student will learn or the techniques in the Blender Bash project, and as well as the topic is like the example task that like making a monkey, making a jumping rabbits, and so on. So for the level, it's like more the foundation levels by category by 1, 2, 3, and subjects of course is about the Blender. So after introducing our qualification framework, and I would like to draw your attention to discuss more how we can engage more and to run and operate and manage our community and bring our branded batch level to the next level. So after defining all the level in the knowledge and skills that mean the foundation batches, and what's next? And I would like to bring up is about the details of the framework components. Imagine you are a chef, and now we have prepared all the ingredients, and what should we do next? And it's all about how do we integration of the soft skills and the competency area for the Blender educations. So imagine that someday mom come to me and say, hey, Miss Katina, my kids learn this today, and I don't know what are they. So we have to define a common language that like everyone can know and understand what are we going to teach in the Blender. So how do we improve this? And I would like to propose is to provide a competence area and some performance criteria. And it's just like where we have the ingredients. So next step is prepare the recipe. Yeah. So when I did some research on the common and recognizable framework in Europe, like this one is the European Digital Competence Framework, and you can show there are 5 competence, which about the digital content creation, safety, problem solving, communication, and collaboration, as well as the information and data literacy. So you can see here in this framework, you can see it's a very clear flow that show in each session what students are going to learn, including like the competency area. And as well as I did some research about the next another framework that's called UNESCO Digital Literacy Global Framework. It's basically referred to the previous one and develop more competence. Yeah. So to have a well understanding, and you can look at the table, and it shows a well comparison between them. Yeah.
May I ask something?
Yeah.
What do you mean by safety?
Safety, I mean, should be how to use the digital device or how to receive the information safely, like maybe some copyright problem and so on.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah. I have the QR code. Maybe you can also scan the QR code and get more information of their framework. Yeah. And this one is another one. Yeah. You can also take a picture of it. Yeah.
Very quick.
Okay. So let's come to Hong Kong. Let me tell you about the story in Hong Kong. So basically, in some traditional school, we only have 1 hour. That means each week we only have 1 hour can let the teacher to teach students about the innovative technology. So that means we find there is a lack of skill, knowledge, and tools for students to survive in the future, because we know that in the future is a tech-driven world. So what they're going to learn is not the basic knowledge like the root learning from the traditional teaching method, but what means to them is to learn how about the digital literacy. Yeah. So if you look at this, you can see I show some EDB guidelines in Hong Kong. So you can see they are related to digital literacy and some innovative technology subjects. Yeah, they all shows are very key. They have a clear statement of showing like what students should achieve and what students should do in each session. So that I would like to bring out important message that what can we do next step is to create a Blender common language that is like a Blender framework design that can consist different competence levels or competence area that can let everyone more to know what are we going to teach easier. Yeah. So next, now because we are running out of time, we don't have much time to give a very detailed explanation of every bonus power. So what if we can apply some bronze taxonomy to the techniques, and you can take a look, so we can use some specific word like to cooperate to the area, like utilize, implement, experience, and demonstrate these words to make the picklist more understand and more excitant. Yeah. So for the last step, it goes to the community building. And what do we want is to bridging the gap between the academia and the industry. Because I know in Europe, because students can learn about all the innovative technology, and that would be very helpful for them to enter the workplaces. So how do we connect them? Thanks to Blender, and it's a powerful tool that we can learn about all, I would say, most of the industry relevant skills that can let students get well prepared to explore their career path afterwards. Yeah. So what we're going to do is to how to cooperate with the industries. It's about the assessment method. So like how school can have some joint project and have some internship with the workplace, yeah, so that can let students to have the solid skills and to survive in the future. Yeah. So as well as we have a consulate framework, so students create some amazing artwork. We can also post their artwork on the Blender Batch website to let more people to know about why Blender is important and why Blender is so useful for them to do everything. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Sure.
Download.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so we shared a lot. It's a lot of information, but I think the big areas we're thinking about right now are how do we build up the existing badges structure that we have, right? Enrich it, based on other references, and we've seen how some directions are how we can do this, as well as how we can build up the community. I think our proposal is on top of the Blender badges to make it more sustainable. We should have a community of educators that helps keep this thing alive, right? Right now, a lot of us are just volunteering our time to maintain this project, and in our view, this is not the most sustainable way. It means that maybe eventually this might just fizzle out, right? Not because of lack of passion, but everyone needs time and resources to make it happen. So we think it would be a good idea to build up the alliance of Blender educators, and we've started building up the core structures of it, right? There will be a few components. Can we share the screen of like a website?
No,
just
I think
open a new
tab.
Yeah.
You have to put the right.
That's fine. Yeah. So this is our kind of draft for what we envision this to look like. So we think this will be a structure that kind of supports the Blender Badges initiative. And going back to this idea of like certification, we think it will be a good idea if, because right now it's the badge itself and the credibility of the school, right, or the trainer that's lending value to like the learning experience for the student. We want to create an alliance where, if you're part of this alliance and part of this kind of standardized process, right, it's akin to kind of like a Blender certification in a way, right? We can't force, the Blender team to like regulate this and like structure this, but I think as a community, right, because we're all experienced in Blender education, right, our voice matters and our experience matters, and us being part of the same community will kind of lend some value to the badges that we give out, right, as alliance. This is kind of our current design on how we can make this work. And in reality, what this will entail is probably kind of a roughly a certification program, right, that's based on the badges, right? And we want this, our vision is to make this relatively autonomous and easy to maintain, right, at the early levels, right? And there might be a team of people that have to be hired to maintain this if we're actually going to do this realistically, because at the higher levels, at least, right, when we're giving out these certifications, there has to be people involved, right? For example, if Katina wants to be a certified trainer, there has to be someone who's saying, okay, yes, Katina is a certified trainer. And that requires time and effort for me to look through the portfolio, conduct examinations, and I'm sure everyone has experience of doing that with other software or other kind of qualifications. And we think that by, to make this a kind of sustainable thing that will develop itself in the longer term, right? This will have to be managed in a way, right? And if Blender doesn't have the resources to do that, we'd love to take that on and help kind of found this initiative. Right? And I'm not saying that everyone has to be part of this alliance to use the badges or give out certifications, right? But this is our way of saying, we can collaborate as an international community, right? And we can do more in terms of giving conscious effort, dedicated effort in giving back to Blender, giving back to Blender badges, right? Developing the curriculum, doing the pooling of resources, and make it a more structured thing rather than it being entirely voluntary. So this is our idea so far, and we're open to everyone to just leave some contact details right now and just kind of let us know that this is something that you might be interested in, right? And this is just entirely a draft from us, right? And we're going to be working all this stuff anyway, right? And I'm sure a lot of you, as you're using the badges, you come across the same problems, and this can be kind of a help group and a community for us to work together on this. But yeah, it's very much in the early stages right now, right? But we hope for this to be a platform where teachers can come together and share their thoughts, share their opinions, share their resources, and help each other, right, as they teach Blender, right? And also lend a bit of credibility and provide a platform for the self-regulation. Yeah. But yeah, we want to hear everyone's thoughts as well, right? Because this is a discussion session, right? There's a few things that we want to avoid, right, as we enter this venture. We don't want this to be overly commercial, right? So we're very conscious that we are a private entity, right? And of course, this will, as a school, for example, right, this is lending credibility for us to, train more people, right? And our source of income is not this, right? If certification costs money, right, to maintain, it'll go back into maintaining this alliance, right? It'll go back to Blender, right? It'll go back to further developing the badges project, right? That'll be the mandate of such an alliance, we think. But yeah, it's not profit making in any sense, right? And we're giving resources to this platform as well, right? Our training, our people, right? And that's how we want the community to participate with this as well, right? In whatever capacity you can, right? If not, you can just join and use the resources. That's great, right? Then we can promote Blender together, right? But yeah, this can also become kind of a membership platform where everyone can give back. And we're also taking reference from the Blender Studio platform, which we're also helping promote in China, right? That's a subscription service that contributes back to the Blender Foundation as well, right? Where you're getting learning materials, you're getting behind the scenes in exchange for kind of a monthly fee, right? And this is something we're also learning from and trying to structure based on. But yeah, I'm sure because all of you have experience working operating schools or programs, and you will be working with other programs as well. We mentioned Houdini just now, for example, or other certification programs. We love to draw ideas from those structures as well and see how we can make it work for Blender. Yeah.
Cool, Brandon.
Thank you. Yes, thanks a lot. When we started this journey with the Blender badges, this is one of the discussions we had. And I think we very soon in our meetings we went into the discussion that, for instance, for us in certain European countries, we don't rely much on certification, we rely more on schools. So that's why certification is for us not as important.
But in certain countries, the certification is very important. And that's what you brought in, like, okay, it's in China, it's very important if you have a certification.
Yeah.
But we also heard this from South American countries who were also teachers coming in and saying, hey, certification is the most important thing for us. So and that's when we got together and say, okay, different areas in the world look different, have different education systems and rely on different topics. So that's why the qualification framework was brought into. And I really like to talk about, we need to take the tick list to the next level and see how we can align. And your initiative to gather more educators to have kind of like a certification system for those countries and those schools, those education systems that need that. So, and this is not something that we from the Blender education community, we're not going to solve this. But I'm really glad that you guys want to take up on the work to solve that part and work together with those schools and those countries who need the certification system for their school system. So that's wonderful. Are there any questions?
Yeah, I would be interested what kind of organization this would be, an institutional thing.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I mean, you have the Crystal Institute, and it's a private company, as I understand.
Yeah.
And you already said that this was not for money making, but just to create a community. And what would it? What's your plan to?
Yeah, well, if I had to brainstorm, right?
Yeah.
I think different schools, universities, or educational institutions like us can become members of this alliance.
All right.
Right, and it would be a rotating kind of like committee based on representatives from these schools and institutions that will represent the interests of this kind of public not-for-profit group, right? Whose mandate and objectives would be to promote Blender badges, promote Blender education, right, and support Blender, right? And perhaps we could do things like delegate a significant portion of the proceeds going to this platform, right, back to Blender, right, and we can work with Ton and the Blender team to make this as official as possible, right? Close the gap a little bit, right? To make this more credible, right? But yeah, that's kind of roughly what I would design at this moment, but very open to like ideas from everyone.
So, I think we're a bit hungry and want to have some lunch. I want to thank you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for coming all the way from Hong Kong to give this presentation. And I want to thank you all of you for attending this. I know it's long, 3 hours. So I'm really proud of you that you guys nice to stick it. Thank you very much, and we'll meet each other somewhere in the venue. You came from Arnhem.